Hello, everyone. Thank you guys all for coming. We brought all you guys here to get different perspectives and, just hear different voices. We're gonna all go around and, just say what we're drinking. And I had to copy Bella. I had to get a yerb. And yeah, let's get it going.
Cool. My name's Leah. I'm a senior. I'm on the wellness team and I'm drinking pink lemonade in honor of Women's History Month.
Um,
Um, oh, you go first. Sorry.
okay, sorry. Okay, so my name is Anisha. I'm a junior and I'm drinking green tea.
I'm Bella. I'm a junior and I'm drinking a yerba mate and it's the pink flavor. So, Women's History Month.
My name is Amrita and I'm a senior and I'm drinking coffee.
I'm Miss Decker and I'm drinking the Spindrift, which I'm addicted to.
I'm Mrs. Hernandez and I'm drinking tea.
My name is Risha and I'm drinking Sunny D.
Hi, I'm Dr. Savitska. I'm drinking tea.
Hi, I'm Ayushi. I'm drinking a mango bubbly.
I'm Niharika. I'm also part of wellness and I also have a yerba.
I'm Christina. I'm also a part of wellness and I'm drinking water in my 19th Amendment mug.
Awesome. Okay, so I think we'll just jump straight in. So Anisha, if you want to start.
Yeah, so our first question is, how do you think that the experience of being a woman has changed over the past few decades? And what do you see in your female students today that gives you hope or disappointment when it comes to how society has progressed? And I'm going to put this question in the chat too. So yeah, whoever wants to go can go.
I'll go. So I think when I was a student, there were, I wasn't really aware of things, but as I progressed through university, there were less and less females that were professors. And I think, that's a common theme, like in the past, it was a big deal. When I was getting my PhD, in my program, there were 0 females. So professors, chemistry department, and they have pictures of women in there. I'm not sure exactly which sub-department they're from. I was in organic. And there were no women organic, but I believe they do have some now. So I think things are getting better, but they're not perfect.
Can I address the second question within that question series?
Yeah.
So I loved this question. What do you see in your female students today that gives you hope or disappointment when it comes to how society has progressed? I was thinking a lot. I'm so glad that you gave us these questions ahead of time because I really sat and thought a lot about what I wanted to say. I was going to take notes and I was like, okay, just relax. It's going to be okay. But that second question I loved because I do feel like I have seen a change in my female students over the last decade. I've been at Doherty. This is my 13th year at Doherty. And I've always taught freshmen and seniors beyond one blip where I taught juniors. And I was thinking a lot about how I feel like my female students have grown increasingly, not outspoken, because I feel like that has a negative connotation, but they've grown increasingly more comfortable and confident in communicating their ideas. I find that in a lot, in my early Lang classes, I felt like I had more boys than girls on my rosters. And I felt like the boys really dominated the conversations. And in the past few years, I actually almost feel like it's flipped upside down. I don't even feel like there's been an evening. It's just completely turned itself on its head. And that gives me a lot of hope. Not that it's about silencing, the other gender or anything, but this idea that girls are becoming increasingly confident in their voices and feeling comfortable communicating ideas and opinions regardless of who is present in an audience. That's been really inspiring to me.
Yeah, I think I'm seeing that too. It's kind of interesting because journalism historically at Doherty has been very female heavy and female driven. And I'm oftentimes trying to recruit more boys for journalism, which is an interesting perspective. But I think, in the last few years, I've just seen some really powerful female students, and really powerful in the sense that they are not afraid to be really outspoken about their passions, and have conversations that are uncomfortable and are hard, but are ultimately worthwhile. And they've also, but that's not to say that they haven't faced, some gender discrimination in conversations. And I've often found myself in conversations with these female students where they say, how do I deal with this male interaction that's going on, because it made me feel X, Y, and Z, and I didn't feel as though I could use my voice. So I think that that's still happening a little bit, but I do see my female students definitely being willing to be so confident and brave. It's interesting too what Ms. Sawicka was saying about science. There was like a delusional period in my life where I was doing science in college, and it was very male driven, and I was one of the few female students. And then I switched to English, and all of my classes were full of female students. So I find it interesting that that's still sometimes a trend today. And I know that's one of your later questions, but I still think that's interesting. And I think too that even though things have changed a little bit for me as a woman, definitely there are times when I feel like my role as a woman is a hindrance to something I'm trying to achieve, because there's just a preset that it's supposed to be a male thing that's going on, or a male has made me feel inadequate in some way. Definitely my first years of teaching, there was a male teacher who made me feel very inadequate and very objectified. And it almost got me out of that particular school because I felt so uncomfortable. And I still think that's going on today. But at Doherty, I don't necessarily see that, just because the English department and many of my colleagues are so supportive.
I know that these questions are kind of driven towards teachers talking about the way that it's changed over the decades, and students in particular, but I was hoping I could answer this question as well. I was just thinking, when you gave us these questions, I was thinking about the idea of social capital. And I think some people have heard this term where it's teenage girls hold the least amount of social capital within our society. If you think about it, things that teenage girls generally enjoy are viewed and looked down upon, like rom-coms, makeup, things like that, like boy bands. Everyone makes fun of girls for being into One Direction and things like that. And I think that with the rise of social media, rise of TikTok, things like that, we're reclaiming our social capital and being no, these things are fun. These things are cool. I like doing makeup. Anyone can do those things. So it's caring about clothes, caring about stuff that's traditionally feminine. We're kind of reclaiming it once more. And I really enjoy that.
So like Ayushi, I have neither been alive for the past few decades, nor am I a teacher. But yeah, I can sort of answer this question in the scope of the field that I'm most interested in, which is science. So it's really interesting to see when my mentors who are female talk about their experiences in the scientific community. So some of the mentors that I've experienced, that I've spoken with, they're getting their master's or their PhD or something like that. And a lot of them are interested in research or becoming a doctor or, becoming a professor, something like that in the fields of science. And they say that when it came to their parents who were also interested in science, perhaps, getting an opportunity in the scientific field was really difficult for their mothers and was just as easy for their fathers. And they say that over time for them, it's become a bit easier because there are programs that are designed to help bring women into the scientific fields right now. Personally, I've also not found getting the opportunity is the problem. Like there's plenty of opportunities for me to pursue science in, you know, competition research, whatever that means. But as far as it goes, there still is that problem of not having enough female mentors who can speak to that experience. Like I've been exceedingly blessed to have many female mentors in science who've told me about their experiences and have kind of given me guidance in sort of how I should navigate a very male-dominated world. But a lot of people, unfortunately, don't have access to that yet. And so it's a very slow trend towards where we should go, which is hopefully equality in the science field, because it's very, very obvious that there is, you know, egalitarian interest in science. The opportunities are also there. It's just the fact that that role model that is so necessary. I mean, our teachers will speak to the importance of role models here, but not having a role model in the scientific field is certainly a hindrance. And I'm glad we're making steps in the right direction.
Awesome. Shall we move on to the next question? I believe that's Bella.
Yes. Okay. So the next question is, how do you think that being a woman has affected you in your field of work, and has it helped or hindered you in leadership roles? And I'll put the question in the chat so you guys can see it.
I would actually like to comment on this.
Go ahead.
I feel like the reason that I really like this question is because for some reason throughout history, we've associated with like leadership with masculine qualities when there's a lot of like inherently feminine qualities that are perfect for leadership. I'm thinking things like empathy, or the fact that maybe women are technically more risk averse, and how that can actually be a good thing in certain fields. You know, I'm thinking like we look at countries that are led by women during this COVID crisis who have been disproportionately doing much better than their male counterparts. So I can see how, you know, obviously we all know that like being a woman can sometimes hinder your opportunities and your respect, but also being a woman can give you a unique perspective that is actually helpful in leadership. And I was wondering if you guys could maybe speak on that.
I think I'm going to take kind of a different way with this. I've noticed that at least, okay, how can I phrase this? Women oftentimes are more approachable than men. Because of this, and I'm not sure if this is also my personality, but I've just noticed also, I mean, it's just kind of who I am as a person. I'm extremely empathetic. My friends joke that I'm the typical Pisces, that I am extremely emotional and in touch with my emotions. And that was something that used to be, I mean, I'm definitely the youngest on this panel. And I was in high school 10 years ago, and it's already changed so much. Being an empath and being a Pisces was looked down upon it when I was in high school. I would never imagine I would never imagine my teachers talking to me about their internal struggles, but I feel like I can now. I feel like I can talk about, and that kind of gets more, so I'm not sure if that's being a woman or if that's just how we've progressed in general. But I've been able to reclaim my sensitivity and reclaim my ability to be empathetic and to be kind and to be loving, but to use that as a source and be forceful with it, right? To be a loud voice, but to be like, I'm going to be loud, but I'm also going to be kind. And so that's something that I actually learned from Nikki Chaplin. She was my mentor teacher, and I used to cry and be like, my students are never going to listen to me because I'm too nice. That was something that I was told when I was 6 years old, that I was too nice, that they couldn't be my friend. I was too nice. Reclaim that, ladies. Reclaim being kind and being gentle, right? Instead of being the like prissy person, right? But instead be approachable, so that way you can listen to people and use that as a driving force as a leader.
Yeah, I think I'm going to agree with a lot of what's being said. And I think that also being an empath has been very helpful for me being a teacher and my interactions with students. Students feel like comfortable talking to me. I don't know, maybe Anisha is afraid of me, but like on the whole, you know, most students feel comfortable sharing stuff with me. But I will also say that sometimes it has been a negative thing when I'm dealing with, say, a parent interaction or like a superior or someone who's at a higher level than I am. And the other thing I've noticed is that oftentimes I have had disputes with male coworkers, because it's sort of the like Hillary Clinton, Elizabeth Warren, like, oh, you're just being a bitch. And I'm using that word like specifically. I actually really hate that word. That, you know, that like that stereotype, right? That if a woman is like outspoken and you know, powerful about what she thinks and maybe challenging some sort of male authority, that automatically that's what she becomes. And so that's been a struggle for me of like trying to find the balance between like, okay, this is something I really care about. This is the hill I'm dying on. But like, I also want to have people hear me. And so I think that there's just this like negative trope in society oftentimes about, you know, like if you're an outspoken woman, then there's something wrong with you. In the same way that if you're too nice as a woman, then, you know, people don't listen to you. And it's like, where do you fall where the truth is that you just have to be yourself. And so I've kind of had to develop, Ms. Hernandez has helped a lot with this, like developing some thicker skin in some situations, whether that be in professional or personal life, right? Where you're like, okay, this is like really important to me. So I don't care that somebody's saying this about me, but this is, you know, this is what's going on. And so I think that as women, we just need to continue to what Hannah or what Ms. Love was saying is like normalize these traits about ourselves that, you know, it's not necessarily like a negative thing to be bossy or to be kind or to be sensitive. And I think it's interesting that that idea of like female and male leadership traits. And I hate that those are the words we use to describe those traits. Like it's just like people traits, right? But unfortunately, gender has become just such an important social construct in our society that it's really hard not to associate things with gender. And it's just really interesting to see that journey for women. And then just to cycle back to what Ms. Hernandez says, I've seen friends who are teachers who are also moms, and the policies and the ways that we do things for working moms is horrible. Like it's just so frustrating and so wrong, and I hate it. And I'm not a mother, but if I was, like, I don't know how I would do it. So some major props to you doing that. But I mean, those things have not changed, and that's something that needs to, because that just isn't right.
Adding on to what Ms. Decker and Ms. Love were saying, I feel like a lot of people can relate to this, but I feel like I'm the perfect disaster, which is like aggressively kind, but also outspoken and like that like typical like, I guess, bitch female role to a lot of people, where it's like, if I'm in a leadership role, I'm going to do my very best and I'm going to set the standard and I'm going to try my hardest to make sure that it is both a safe and loving environment, but also somewhere where we get things done. And that can backfire in major ways, because on one hand, you are this person that people want to come to for your empathy and for your advice or for your general kindness, but then you're also someone that people look down upon for taking charge in situations, because you're the ultimate dichotomy of what a female leader should be. You're both kind and you're both like loving, but you're also someone that exemplifies like the masculine traits, right? So in leadership, it's, I think, both a blessing and a curse, but I also think that we should stop like associating certain traits with feminine and masculine, because I don't think things should like remain in the gender binary, as that's not even something that like exists for all people, right? So we need to be as inclusive as we can while also not like confining ourselves to certain ideals and certain labels, because that's the way society has told us to do it.
I guess I'll just kind of conclude with summarizing what Ayushi said in my own experience. I think it's interesting how, you know, when we're in conversation, we talk differently with different people. If I'm talking to Leah, I'm going to speak in a different way than I speak with my teachers, right? So our adaptability is something that's human, and it's beautiful. The fact is that even when it comes to being a woman, or maybe even a male in a leadership position, there's a certain adaptability depending on the audience that you're addressing. So if I'm addressing an individual they're going to come at me with some individual concerns, and I'm going to meet them at an individual level. So at that moment, it's not that I'm necessarily activating my feminine side, but I will be more empathetic and kind, and my tone will be softer, and my pitch will probably rise a little bit, which are traditionally associated with feminine, but honestly, it's just human to be adaptable to that situation. If I'm addressing a larger crowd, that's my voice is going to go lower. I'm probably going to speak a little bit louder. I'm probably going to be a little bit more crass, honestly, just so I can get in touch with what everyone can possibly understand or expects me to say. And again, that's not me trying to embody being a male. That's just me trying to do what's best in order to get my own plan, my own agenda across. And if that happens to be embodying some typically masculine traits, I think that's okay. So what I'm trying to say here is that like Aisha was kind of saying, we're not really associating traits or like gender binary traits here. We're simply adapting ourselves to different situations, and being women and a women leader, I think is so beautiful because we're more in touch with what are traditionally feminine or masculine traits, but we're just really in touch with this spectrum of how to address different people. That's ultimately what being a leader is, right? Being able to communicate with different groups of people of different backgrounds. And I think the fact that we're able to do this, navigate this diverse world easier than a lot of people is what makes us really good leaders at the end of the day.
All right, I think we'll move on to the next question. That was a really great conversation. I'd like to just kind of play devil advocate before we move on to what Risha said. Although I completely agree with her of like, just because we're lowering our voice, like doesn't mean that we're trying to like be more masculine. I do feel like in my personal experience, I've sometimes actively tried to be more masculine to get more respect, masculine. And like, for me, like I had a very high voice, you know what I mean? Like, and when I used to do like debate stuff when I was in middle school, I remember I would get a lot like, oh, like you're shrill. And like, it's hard to take you seriously because you're so shrill, which was really hard because I knew that my male counterparts were not getting that. And like, I just have a high voice. Like, I don't know what to tell you, you know what I mean? And I felt like I had to lower my voice to be more respected. And I felt like that was directly because even if I didn't associate like me lowering my voice as like succumbing to the patriarchy, they were enjoying it more because it was a more traditionally masculine like trait. And I felt very constricted by that, you know. I felt like I had to change who I am because I am a inherently very high-pitched, hyper feminine person to like fit what a leader was, and that felt really confining to me. But I also completely agree with Risha in the sense that just because one chooses to change slightly doesn't necessarily mean it's because they're a woman. So I do think it's like a personal experience, but I also think that we need to move into a world where like if people want to change the way they act in certain situations, it shouldn't be because they feel like they need to. You know what I mean? And I think that's the most important thing that we can get out of this. Anyway, let's move on to the next question.
Okay, so we're going to move straight to the question, what advice do you have for high school students who identify as women relating to these issues?
Be true to you. That I think I really loved how Risha really talked about like that's just who I am. Like Leah's like that's just what my voice is, right? I think that there's a lot of quotes that I could bring up, of course, but one of the things that always stuck with me was like to the only people who matter like don't care. What is that? Whatever that like phrase is, people who don't matter will care, and people who don't care matter, something like that. Something along those lines. But that I think what's important is I think I'm guessing this was more so relating with being a leader, and something that I've noticed is the thing that followers most dislike, and just humankind in general, hypocrisy, of being not true to your person. And I think that I've actually shared this with some of my students, so Bella, Nehrika, and Ofre, sorry that this is going to be repetitive to you, but when I was first teaching, I thought I wore my hair in a bun every single day. I wore it pulled back away from my face because I thought that would make me look not having my hair down was going to make me look more masculine or make me look more professional. And that's just not who I am. I'm not super professional. It's just not me. So I have to find something that works and what works for me, right? Because my students knew that what I was saying wasn't what I believed in. So for any person who identifies as a female or as a male or as cisgender or whatever, be true to you. And those who don't accept you don't matter. And those who do accept you will be there for you.
Yeah, I want to jump onto that. I love what you just said, Mrs. Love. I think that besides being true to yourself, the best advice I would give is find a group of friends that support you being true to you. You know, so yes, be true to yourself, but it's lonely sometimes to be true to yourself. But finding people that have similar values as you, finding a friend group that like creates space for you to grow and experiment and try things on for size, and starting class soon. So yeah, I think that that's huge. I read a great quote a few years ago that small people talk about people and big people talk about ideas. And I think I think in high school, it's so easy to just be mean and to be gossipy and to focus on the day-to-day stupid trite stuff that's going on in people's lives and get hung up on that. But like encouraging people to find other people who want to talk about ideas will naturally help you evolve into a place of loving who you are and loving your mind. And I think that that's like, gosh, if we could cultivate one thing in women, it's to be comfortable in their skin and confident in their mind, because I think that that would change the world.
Yeah, I want to build on what Miss Love and Miss Hernandez said so much. I mean, women in society tear each other down so much that we need to like support other women as much as we can. And then I think I'd also say when I saw this question first, I just thought, don't give up. Like, you just have to be resilient. And there's going to be so many people in life who tell you you can't do something. And that's true no matter the gender you identify with. But I think specifically for women, you know, we're just told like, no, that's not for you, sweetie, and like, go do something else. And this is such an overused example, but you know, like think about if RBG had just been like, well, this is hard, you know? So like you have to just embrace that, and you have to just keep going when you think that you can, and like think about the greater picture. And then you know, the other thing too is like was saying, like people are going to say things about you no matter what, but if you're true to yourself and you know that what you're doing is right, then you just keep charging ahead. I mean, this is a really terrible way to phrase this, but Tina Fey has this funny quote where she says, you know what, bitches get stuff done. And I've now used that word twice, so you can edit. But like, I love that. It was like on my planner for years. I was like, yeah, you know, and I look at how successful she's been, and like, just, you know, she's smart and hilarious and cool and totally herself. She's a total dork, you know, but she embraces it in the same way that other wonderful women have. And I just think about if all those women had just sat down and said, I'm tired, but instead they said, no, like we must keep charging forward. So don't give up. That would be my advice.
For me, I would just say like support and acceptance is something that I think like all women, all people of all genders just need to, I think, work on, because like as we were saying, like in the media, women are pitted against each other. It's like, you know, feuds between women are turned into bigger things and stuff like that. And it's just about like loving other people and like finding your people especially, but just loving people. I think that love obviously is so powerful, and understanding that like you have that power is so important. Like as a student, as someone who's like growing up still and like understanding the way the world works, for me, recognizing that I had that within me was so important to me, to see that like I can do things. I can really do things. And that was just really important for me to understand. And I hope that everyone is able to like reclaim that love and that power within themselves.
I just want to add on kind of the same line that Ms. Love and Ms. Hernandez were talking about. in that you are not alone. I think beyond just their friends, beyond just their peers who are indeed going through the same struggles a lot of the time, our teachers and our adult mentors on campus can be excellent people to talk to. I mean, the teachers are all nodding along heavily over here, but our female teachers and indeed even our male teachers, they can serve as excellent role models, bouncing off boards, just people to talk to when an issue that you're experiencing, be it in the realm of like gender discrimination or anything else, they might have gone through it. They might have seen other people going through it and have experiences beyond just what you and your peers have. And they honestly, like what Ms. Decker was talking about, but like people telling you not to give up, your teachers are going to be the last people to tell you to give up on something, because your teachers are there because they genuinely want your best, right? So I think finding it doesn't need to be all teachers. It doesn't even need to be a teacher in your current grade or somebody that you've had. But if you can find an adult mentor who can talk to you about an experience and help you guide through it, because it's hard to navigate, especially a constantly changing realm just on your own, or even with the people around you who are just as inexperienced as you. But if you have someone who's kind of grown up with the times, and even if they don't have answers, they have this kind of support that we were just talking about. Adult mentors, adult teachers, and in this context, female teachers, they're excellent people to turn to.
I just have something to say real quick. So I'm tall, always been tall. And when I was younger, I used to like slouch to make myself seem smaller because, guys used to make fun of me like, oh, why are you so like this and that? So I would always slouch. And one time I was with one of my aunts and she saw me slouching and she's tall too. And she was like, no, we don't do that. Stand up, like embrace yourself, like stand up tall, speak with your head up. Cause I used to be like this. And so after she said that, every time she'd see me, she'd be like, stand up tall, like, put your head up. And then as I got into middle school and high school, when I embrace, like, yes, I'm a tall girl. Like, I have a loud voice. I'm going to be me. And I would just say for, tall girls out there, stand up tall, keep your head up. Like, guys are going to be insecure about, your height if you are taller. And, that's their problem, be you. Like, don't make yourself smaller for anyone, be who you are. If people make fun of your voice, who cares? That's your voice. That's unique to you, just, be yourself.
Yeah, I think building off of that, I think it's so important when you guys were talking about like being true to yourself, because socially, like, women have been restricted and have all of these expectations where, oh, women are too feminine, or, oh, like you're being too like quote unquote masculine. I think it's just like the biggest kind of like punch against the patriarchy is just doing what you want and like not falling into this idea that like, oh, you're being too feminine, you're being too masculine, like, oh, you need to fit into these certain boxes. I think, just like if I have any advice, it would just be like, follow what you want to do and do what you want to do, because at the end of the day, there's always going to be some sort of like critique against your behavior, whether it's you're being too stereotypically feminine, or, oh, like, why are you trying to be like quote unquote masculine, so I think just people are going to say what they're going to say, people are going to think what they're going to think, but I think if you're true to yourself, then that's not something that you're going to really regret. So yeah.
So I think it's about time that we are going to wrap up, but I just wanted to thank everyone here today. This was a very productive and organic conversation. And I just like took a seat back and I learned so much from hearing your stories and your advice. And I hope that you guys learn from each other as well. We will be posting this edited, of course, on our social media. So I hope that you get to check that out and share it with anyone if interested. And yeah, we couldn't be more grateful that you guys took time out of your day. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, what an honor.